Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
I don't even know where to start with what we're dealing with the Republican Party right now in the United States. You are over there, obviously, in Ukraine trying to help children. We've had this horrific attack in Israel, and you have the Josh Hawleys of the world saying, let's take the money away from Ukraine and give it to Israel. You've got Rand Paul holding up an Israeli ambassador because why now? He wants Fauci arrested, something. I can't even find a coherence of any moral or otherwise in the Republican Party right now. Can you?
You know, I certainly cannot. But the other thing too is, Stephanie, they can't even govern. It's immorality wrapped up in incompetence and arrogance of the worst. You know, being arrogant if you know what you're doing is one thing. Being arrogant if you're a moron and disorganized is like you just gotta cringe. It's just, you know, and it's not just a superficial revulsion here. This is like a deeply distressing problem with the Republican Party that is really hurting the country. It's not funny. It's not temporary. It's a very deep undermining of what a major political party in the United States should be. We always find disagreement on policy, but to not have anybody to have a normal, rational conversation with. You didn't even mention Tuberville, the senator from Alabama, who's been holding up a couple of hundred key military appointments, in addition to whatever Rand Paul thinks he's doing with holding up the other ambassadorial appointments or whatever he's doing or funding. It's actually incomprehensible.
Yeah.
I have trouble remembering what piece of stupidity is going to come out of that party on any given day. You name it. Anything's possible.
Right. That we can't have, again, the moral clarity to say attacking, civilians in Ukraine or in Israel is wrong. We need to stand with democracy. You just said Hamas, massacring children, children who die in war are called unintended collateral damage, a horrible euphemism, but for the mass slaughter of children and babies to be the actual target and intent of terrorists is beyond comprehension, a nightmare that will resonate for generations. You said, I've seen horrible things on my 5 trips to Ukraine, returning next month, but the Hamas savagery in Israel exceeds anything virtually any person alive today has ever imagined. Anti-Israel and anti-Semitic rallies right now in cities, campuses are unforgivable. This is what we've been talking about here all week, Doc, is that, and Malcolm Nance said it well yesterday, so this isn't even anti-Jew, this is anti-humanity, what's happening right now in Israel.
Yes, it is. I don't think there's been really a time in human history on the planet where there hasn't been savagery. I mean, we've talked about some very dark periods and horrendous things that have happened, but one of the hopes was that as the world got theoretically more civilized, more caring about others, and less resorting to terrible violence, you would think that something like this, which is really quite Holocaust-like, I don't like really comparing anything to the Holocaust because it's really in a class by itself. On the other hand, the reports coming out of Hamas terrorists running in rage, torturing, killing, whatever they're doing to civilians, including children, really runs against the grain of what it means to be a human being. I don't even insult animals by calling them animals. It's different than animals. Animals kill to survive and they get riled up, or whatever happens to an alligator when it does its thing there, or a grizzly bear. Those are animals behaving the way animals behave in nature. Human beings are not supposed to behave like that. Yeah. They're supposed to have a higher level of at least appreciation, of morality, of basic humanity. Yeah. I mean, what the Wagner Group was doing in Ukraine to civilian populations, murdering people in basement shelters in eastern Ukraine, was not okay in any way. It's not warfare. It's just murder.
Yeah.
And that's what we have in the Middle East now, and 100 times worse in some ways.
Yeah, and to play politics with that and say, oh, we should stop the money to Ukraine now and give it to Israel. It is to not be able to stand again and against the exact same kind of atrocities in both places and stand for democracy just boggles my mind.
By the way, Zelensky, president of Ukraine, I just saw a report that he wants to go to Israel to stand in solidarity with them. If he wants to, and have the likes of Josh Hawley saying, we should remove support from the other democracy that's struggling for its existence. To me, that would be a disqualifier for serving in such a lofty office and position of influence in our government.
Yeah, we are just...
Look who the model is here with Donald J. Trump, who has set standards. I don't know that Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz or people like that would have had the temerity to speak publicly about the things they've been saying for the last few years if the door had not been open to that kind of rhetoric by their spiritual cult leader, Donald Trump. And he's just done this damage that's going to be very hard to reverse, but, here we are.
Yeah, and speaking of that cult, Mark Ruffalo, was talking about the media needs to wake up and start calling Trump out on his dangerous threats before he gets someone killed. He said a presidential contender is calling for Americans to kill and harm Americans. Let that sink in. He's the enemy of America from within. And you just said, thanks, Mark. Trump is and has been off the rails for a long time. He's an unspeakably dangerous leader of the world's most dangerous cult. And with Malcolm Nance yesterday, we drew a straight line between, terrorism is terrorism. And that's his latest book is They Want to Kill Americans. So, and I keep saying, Doc, too, it's all one story. The fact that Trump gave Israeli intelligence to Russians in the Oval Office that clearly probably gave it to Iran and then Hamas. It is such a perilous time in the world, isn't it? Not just in America.
Yes. And, if you haven't seen it, people should read Robert De Niro's essay. That was, it was released through Twitter, but it's a long, phenomenally well-written understanding of what Trump actually represents. It's extremely articulate and worth reading.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably pretty easy to find on Twitter or X or whatever the hell he's calling it.
Yeah, he spoke at the Stop Trump Summit yesterday that we've had, that we had so many guests on from because from all sides of the aisle, by the way, Doc, just recognize the danger of Donald Trump, obviously. Let's talk about, speaking of which, any factor that would help him, like Bobby Kennedy. You retweeted Kerry Kennedy's tweet. Bobby might share the same name as our father. He does not share the same values, vision, or judgment. Today's announcement is deeply saddening for us. We denounce his candidacy, believe it to be perilous for our country. And you just said, Democrats, pay attention to this important message from Bobby Jr.'s sibling. The man's not a progressive. He is a dangerous conspiracist. And that's exactly it. I mean, it's just, there's, like you say, sometimes all this stupidity intersects, doesn't it?
It intersects, it magnifies the other stupidity that's out there. And this is why, some people are just susceptible. If it keeps, the old story about a lie, the more you repeat it, the more people will accept it. Well, the more different people that are supposed to be respected, a U.S. senator, somebody with a revered name in American history and politics, like Bobby Kennedy Jr., they keep saying it over and over again. They reinforce each other. And, that's really a contributing factor to why they get believed when they should be discarded, ignored, mocked.
Yeah.
But
you've got a new quarterback. You've got a new quarterback there, in New York. And someone tweeted around 15,000 people died of COVID in New York City in April 2020. It was terrifying. It amazes me 3 years later, the new quarterback of the Jets can joke about it and not immediately be run out of town. I mean... And by the way, our friend Rob Reiner, who will join us next Saturday at Sexy Liberal here in LA, get your tickets, either pay-per-view or live in person, sexyliberal.com. He said, Doc, Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s announcement to run as an independent is a dangerous and cynical move by wealthy Republicans to put Trump back in the White House. I talked with Bobby and I told him that what he's doing could destroy American democracy. He didn't care. First of all, I loved it. Of course, Rob Reiner will be the one to call him directly actually, and he will tell us more about that next week. But it is an astounding time and just a terrifying time, I think, in our country, Doc.
It certainly is, Stephanie. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it on your show, and you keep reminding everybody, your many, many listeners and people who know about what you're saying indirectly. And it is a service. It's a national public service that you're doing. I really just wanted to tell you that on air at some point.
Thank you. I'm only a Dr. Doom delivery system. Yes. There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.